Chelsea follow two Dutch sensations, and it seems like we are yet again casting our eyes on another goalkeeper this summer window. A lot to break down in today's latest news, my friends. Hope you enjoy, and let's get straight into things. To start with the first reports, Romano released a pretty interesting article yesterday as he suggested that Xavi Simons from RB Leipzig is set to be available in the summer window. Now, for backstory, RB Leipzig played a club record 50 mil fixed fee upfront with an additional 30 million in add-ons. Now, Dutch reports suggest that these add-ons are very hard to achieve. They involve things like RB Leipzig winning league titles, which ain't gonna happen for as long as Bayern Munich exists in that league. But one of the main reasons as to why Leipzig decided to spend so big on Simons in the January window, making him the third highest signing in that period, was that they felt like there was big potential to flip the player instantly, because Simons was followed very heavily by Bayern Munich, who now seem to be turning their attentions now to Florian Wirtz. Reports reveal that Leipzig could entertain bids of around £60 million, around 70 to 75 million euros. And Romano reveals that Arsenal and Man United are all being informed around the situation involving the player. How do you guys feel about this one? I'm going to share my honest thoughts and opinions, and I just don't see it at all, to be honest with you. This one doesn't make too much sense for me. It feels like we are moving away now from these like techie dribbling 8/10/ half pocket / half striker style players. None have worked out. Felix ain't here, and Kunku has struggled. And even like the hybrid mids like your Carnies, he's not here anymore. And Kieran Dewsbury-Hall has barely played. Simons is very much a player who is better operating between the lines and in the pocket. He's better drifting to the touchline compared to only receiving in the touchline. He has incredible feet. He's a maverick style player that has that match-winning potential and capabilities. But haven't we just announced that Kendry Páez is taking part in the Club World Cup, which could mean that he has the potential to remain here for next season? Of course, still conflicting reports surrounding whether he goes to Strasbourg on loan or remains here. Let's see how that goes. But we can't forget that we've retrained Kendry Páez now to get used to playing as a midfield player, because that's the evolution of the team right now. We're going for more classical wingers who have pace out wide, who have dual threat in those wide areas, compared to signing these, multifaceted, attacking mid-style players that I don't think our team really has any need for at the moment. We've also invested into signing a Sugo, who's set to remain here next season, and Andre Santos is set to come back too. It feels like we're prioritizing having midfielders and wingers, and hopefully and obviously a striker this window. And I think we're saying goodbye to this style and profile of player. But that's only my take. How do you feel about this one? Do you feel like there could be something special in Simons that we could tap into for next season? Comment below. Now we discuss long-forgotten January recall option in Aaron Anselmino. Where is he? Why is he not playing? He's not even playing for the under-21s at this point in time. What is going on? And for a player that we once had a lot of praise for towards the club for having the foresight to pull this move off, now we can't forget we spent a lot of money on a kid that's played less than 50 games throughout his career and has currently faced many muscular injuries over the last 18 months. But today, an Argentinian reporter revealed some positive news around the direction surrounding Aaron Anselmino. And at the moment, he is currently sidelined, or has been sidelined with an injury. The only appearance he's made for us came against Liverpool in the under-21 game. But he is now close to regaining his full fitness. And the context is he's currently on his own personal training plan. And we've actually learned that Aaron's put on at least 5 to 6 kilograms of muscle mass. And that's because the club want him to bulk up so he is physically ready for the Premier League, which is a very fair thing. A lot of players sometimes in South America, they need like adjustment periods first before they're actually able to make the physical step up into the Premier League. And for someone like Anselmino, who's had a lot of these like muscular injuries and issues which have really like slowed down his progress at the moment, it's good that we have the foresight to get on top of that immediately, get him to really spend this time strengthening his body, getting used to London, his teammates, his environment, and then ease him into life at the football club from next season. That is if he is set to remain here. And the journalist says that Maresca is a big fan and does see him in his plans for next season. However, depending on what we do in the market in terms of signing defensive reinforcements, listen, we're a football club where we can change our mind depending on the circumstances in the moment. So if we say, actually today, Anselmino will be here for next season, 2 months from now, we could completely change our minds depending on the business we're doing. And when you're getting linked with your Howsons and Mark Gurries, yes, we understand some defenders are set to leave us. But, we've got, Amadou Sarr, Achimpong is probably going to remain here potentially. Anselmino's here, Fofana, Levi Colwill. It's a delicate area where, we can't overspend in that position when we've already invested so much money into potential already. So if you guys are wondering where Anselmino is, he'll be back soon, but probably don't expect him to play any games for us this season. Let's see if he has any involvement though in the Club World Cup. That is the real testing period to see whether he is going to be used or not. Maresca finally reveals the truth on Reece James. Now, a lot of people in the fan base have been getting a bit annoyed by how Maresca's been using James in positions outside of his best position, being that bombastic forwards down the right-hand side, beautiful build-up play, superb when it comes to his offensive abilities, crossing in the final third, and just how he just adds a new dimension to what we do. Why is Enzo overcoaching and not letting Reece James cook in the position which, let's be serious, he's probably announced himself as the top 3 right backs in Europe. We all know Tuchel's thoughts and opinions on where he feels Reece James is best used at, but this is exactly what Maresca had to say when he was questioned over his opinions. And as Maresca says, in terms of data, you can see that when a fullback plays in the way that they used to play up and down, they do that much often than to go inside, covering a bigger distance for the amount of times they go up and down. So for sure, that way we are using James in some games can actually help us. However, last year at Leicester, we had Ricardo Pereira that had the potential, could be a top player for a top team, but because of his injuries, last year with us, he played all the games. We changed a little bit, and that works quite well. With James, it's working quite well, but I said already many times, Reece with us is playing right fullback, left fullback, midfielder, different positions. He's not the only one. We have more players that play in different positions, so we are happy, and hopefully the way we are using Reece is helping him to be fit. Maresca also said that James is still not able to start games every 3 days, and he is still being carefully managed at the moment, with Maresca adding, we try every day to have the medical staff speak with him to see how he is, if he is able to train, if he is good, if he is not. To be honest, in the last weeks, we have been training every day. This is the reason why we are happy with that, and we don't want him to force and to have another problem. When he's fit, he's an international player, without no doubt. And if some of you guys are struggling to understand, obviously English isn't Maresca's first language, but he's quite eloquent when he has to be. But essentially he's saying that, listen, I can't risk Reece James playing as a right back where you're required to play box to box, running up and down. Lots of non-stop sprints back and forth, lots of explosiveness that's required. But that could put him in a position that could potentially mitigate future injuries. He's been out so many times that we can't afford for him to just rush back into like full force football like that. His body needs to adjust, it needs to acclimatize. And we can't forget Reece has had like 14, 15 injuries in the last 5 seasons. Now, we don't know whether Maresca may decide to play Reece James in a more advanced position in the future, maybe next season. Let's see what happens there. Nothing's ruled out. But I think in the context of this season in particular, this midfield role is part of a wider strategy to basically keep Reece James fit at the moment. And I'd rather have a fit Reece James than be without one. So what's your thoughts on what Maresca's saying? Is he maybe being overly protective, or do you see the foresight behind what he's doing? Share your thoughts below. We have 2 more stories left, so don't go away anywhere as we discuss more transfer news. And we discuss Strasbourg striker in Emegha, who currently this season in Ligue 1 has 12 goals and 2 assists in 22 appearances. That's a very strong return, considering this is now his 2nd season. And it shows that the player is developing. Now, we can't forget that Strasbourg, I think, signed him from an Austrian club, Sturm Graz, for around 12, 13 million euros, which is a lot of money. And at the moment, his current value is around 25 mil euros, which means that if any club wants to buy him, you're probably paying over his current market value. So it's been a good return of investment. At the moment, Emegha is attracting interest from Everton, West Ham, also Newcastle United. And these Newcastle United reports I'm always excited by, because it just keeps suggesting that they are preparing for a future away from Alexander Isak. And today's reports revealed that they'd won around 120 mil euros and not the 150 mil pounds. But I don't know if that's like a structured deal. I don't know how that's going to work. And I'd be very surprised if Newcastle had the balls to try and sell him for 150 mil pounds, especially if the player wants to leave if they don't get CL football. So let's continue to watch that space. But anyway, the French journalist Mohamed Touachli revealed that we also have Emegha on the table. And it makes a lot of sense. Blueco owns Strasbourg. Strasbourg is going to be our premium finishing school for top talents, and also other interesting talents that we signed for them that we think, they could have a potential future with us in the distant future. And Emegha could be that guy. He's huge at 6'3", 6'4", very fast, plays on the shoulder, really good signs of intelligent movement and lots of disruptive movements. It's not like bait telegraph moves. He can disguise his runs. He has the physical frame to hold off defenders as well. And he's showing this season that he can also be a guy that can be a focal point for his team, naturally with the goals he scored, but also bring some of his teammates into the game. Is he someone you turn to as a potential smart option to have alongside Nico? I can see the arguments as to why, but me personally, I think this summer has to be a move for a more higher caliber striker. I still think Nico can develop. I've learnt my lessons this season that it's unrealistic to expect him to be fully fit and in his best form every single game, every single week throughout an intense season. It's not going to happen. And I actually think maybe competition during this stage of where he's at right now, having 2 years to develop here, probably will give him a stronger opportunity to really just push himself even more when he's up against competition. But this competition has to be at the right levels. I keep thinking Emegha looks like a Villarreal Nico Jackson. I think to myself, a lot of these goals he's scoring for Strasbourg, you're not going to really get those moments here. Nico has had them, but a lot of times we're up against, compact, organized defenses, and the game is completely different. I haven't seen enough of a selection of shots in him. Can he hit it outside the box? Can he hit it at the near post really hard and low? Curling efforts. A lot of the goals are just like getting on the end of moves, which is good in terms of the way Strasbourg play as a team. But I feel like for that next level, for teams that have aspirations to want to be title challengers and win things, I just think you need to rely upon a caliber of player that can offer a bit more. And that's always been, in my opinion, what separates like the very best clubs from very good clubs. Having access to that caliber of player. Like, there's only so much coaching you can do to compete. The rest has to come from the players on the field. And I just think, I don't know, if we miss out on CL football maybe and the money's down a bit and we just need a backup for Nico, potentially. But I think if I'm Emegha and Strasbourg do get European football, I'm remaining there for at least 3 years minimum before I even decide on my next move. So how do you guys feel about this report? Let us know. And for the final story, there's been this growing report coming out from Italian reports surrounding Vanja Milinkovic-Savic. Now, Vanja Milinkovic-Savic is the goalkeeper at Torino, and he is the brother of Sergei Milinkovic-Savic. He's having a superb season for Torino. He played a top game against AC Milan when Torino beat them 2-1 back on the 23rd of Feb. And yeah, this guy is not only a colossus, like 6'6", 6'7". I don't know what they're feeding these guys in Serbia, but they got so many giants getting produced in that country. But he's attracting the interest of many big clubs in Europe, because the reports I read last week surrounding this keeper first suggested that Man City and Guardiola are really looking at this guy as a replacement for Ederson. And that's for good reason, because he actually has a 20 mil release clause inserted in his deal. Now, the keeper signed a 1-year extension last year that takes his deal to 2026. However, Torino have the option to trigger an extension, but that won't influence the current release clause. So you're looking at a goalkeeper who statistically is on fire. He saved 4 out of 5 penalties for Torino. In terms of some of his goalkeeping numbers, they are pretty excellent. He's showing that he has the potential to be a Prem keeper. He's showing that he's a keeper for big moments. He's showing that he's very good aerially in commanding his books. But most importantly, he's showing that he has the aptitudes to play outside the books. And I think for Prem keepers in particular now, they can't be as passive as they were 10 years ago, 15 years ago. Now you have to be a lot more involved in the game, especially with your duties and responsibilities in build-up, kickstarting attacks when opportunities arise, but also defensive actions outside the box, in particular for big clubs who, your most typical goal you're conceding is going to be from a counter-attack from the opposition. In terms of post shots, expected goals minus, goals against, he's in the 92nd percentile. I think the actual number from what I'm reading is plus 0.24, which means that he's preventing more goals that he's currently conceding this season. He's got some good numbers when it comes to his kicks as well and touches. A lot of touches, 48 per 90. In the 98th percentile, it means he's involved very much in Torino's build-up from deep. In terms of his goal kicks, these are really promising numbers, especially compared to what you're seeing from Robert Sanchez, where his average goal kick length is around 56.7 yards, which means that he has to really play long balls to, find Torino's attackers higher up the pitch to kickstart fast attacks when the opportunity arises. That's what he's encouraged to do on the ball. And in terms of his accuracy playing them, it's 68.5%. That is really good. The save percentage, though, he's in the 95th percentile and he's saving around 77.8% of shots against him, which is another strong figure. Statistically, he looks to be a multi-purpose enforcer, where he's got the qualities to play outside the box and do sweeper keeping duties. He can command his penalty box as well. He's fantastic in those tense moments when it comes to saving pens, but he's also quite tidy on the ball. So Man City won't be looking at a guy like this for no reason. But the interesting question is, though, signing another keeper. We know Penders and Jorgensen are safe. Penders may remain at Ghent for another season. Jorgensen won't be getting sold. So it's currently between Petrovic and Sanchez. And at the moment, it seems like either one will be sold. Now, Petrovic, of course, if he returns back, who's improved vastly playing for Strasbourg, he's only coming back to be number one. If he feels like he won't get that opportunity, he'll ask to leave, and I'm sure that there'll be many suitors for his signature. Robert Sanchez may be the harder one to get rid of, though. Let's see what happens with that one. But could we even be in a crazy situation where our directors, but let's be serious, we can't really foresee or predict the decisions these guys make. Could they decide to just cash in on both of them? Big profit for Petrovic, break even on Sanchez, and then buy Vanja, Milinkovic, Savic for 20 mil euros, around 15 mil pounds for someone who's 28, has a lot of experience and is really finding himself, showing top class potential in his abilities this season. I guess we wait to see whether more developments do come out, but that's currently it, my friends. Of course, you'll see me tonight for the game against Spurs. 3 points has to be in the bag. Make sure you guys stay tuned for my watch along stream as well. And I hope you guys have a good day before the game, and I'll catch you guys on match day. Cool.